Here my hips are tucked under, here they're tilted, so if you constantly stand like that, that means you have an anterior pelvic tilt. You want to stand like this. This is a test to see if you have tight hip flexors, so you want to bring your knees to chest and then drop one down. You want your foot to touch the floor. If it does not touch the floor, that means they're weak or tight. I could actually feel how tight my hip flexors were during this. It was kind of painful, so I know that they are still tight, but they're strong enough to touch the floor. So that's one way to check. This is another way to check. You can do this standing, so you bring knees to chest, and then you want to let go and hold your leg up. If you can hold it up for 10 seconds, then that means they're strong. However, if balance is an issue, you can do this. I kind of put myself next to the couch instead because I couldn't balance the whole time. If you can keep it up like that, that means they're strong. That does not mean that they're still not tight, so you'll be able to feel it if they're tight. If they are weak or tight, this is how to stretch them, then we'll go on how to strengthen them. So the first stretch I like to do for my hip flexors is the child's pose that you may already know. You want to walk your hands as far forward as possible and sit back into your hips as much as you can. You can tell mine are a little tight because I can't get very far. So this stretch is a lunge forward, but we're going to see a couple different variations of this. So you put your weight in that front leg, lean forward into it. You want to stretch out your hip flexor. Your back knee and foot stay on the ground, and then you want to make sure that you also stretch the other side. I like to recommend holding every stretch for 10 to 15 seconds. The next variation of this very similar stretch is going to be kind of the same thing, except for you pick up your foot and your back knee off the ground, and then you're going to hold your chest up for a little bit of it, and you can also lean forward depending on how you're feeling. Then go ahead and switch to the other side, do the same thing. I'm doing these really short just for the sake of time. And then after this one and the very last one, you're going to bend your knees, but you're going to keep them on the ground, and you lean over. You want to keep your hips square so they're not open to the side, and it'll help stretch out. Okay, this one we're going to lean over and stretch. So you basically put your leg over like that and then lean over. Try to keep your back straight, but it's hard. I'm very inflexible in this position. So you want to stretch over and you'll really feel that hip flexor stretch. This one is the butterfly stretch. I like to do like a little pretend like you're flying thing in the beginning of it because it helps loosen them up a little bit. You can see that I'm doing that here. And then after that, I'm going to grab my ankles like this and take my elbows and drive them into my knees and push down. And that really helps push it far apart. This is a great stretch for your hip flexors. Now that you know how to identify and stretch it, this is how to strengthen it. This is one of the exercises that helps with your lower back pain. It's good for stabilizing and increasing the strength in your hip flexors. Sorry for the stutter. So as you can see, this is kind of the general motion, but right there, Aaron corrected me and told me that I need to bring my hips up a little higher, which he was right, but it was very challenging for me because I'm in a lot of pain. So it doesn't feel super good because my back is really tight, but he's kind of helping me through it. I'm going to do 10 on each leg, so 20 total, keeping your hips engaged and up. You want to keep your core tight, your glutes kind of flexed as they are holding you up. You want to keep your back strong. And then you just basically pretend like you're walking up the stairs on this exercise. This is going to help strengthen those hip flexors really well. Not only do you want to stretch, but you also want to strengthen your hip flexors if you're having problems with them. It's good for hip flexors, lower back, core. It all kind of works together. Oh my God. Yeah. This is a seated hip flexion, so what you're going to do is flex your foot, bring your knee all the way up to your chest, and hold it there for a second, and then release it back to the floor. Make sure you maintain good posture the entire time. These are high knees. This is a great cardio exercise that you can do as well. This is a standing knee drive. You can bring it up a lot higher than this, but I'm starting kind of at this point just because I'm a little bit weak right now. And then this is a standing hip flexion, basically the same thing as before, except for that you keep your legs straight the whole time. I do 10 of these reps for all of these exercises on each leg. Come here. So now we're going to go into how to strengthen the core. I prefer to use exercises that utilize your transverse abdominis, basically your inner corset, versus other parts of your abs. Also, a lot of lifting exercises strengthen your core, so you don't need to do like a ton of ab exercises as long as you're also lifting. This is the vacuum. This is one of my favorites, and you can do them pretty much anywhere. Basically, what you want to do is pull your belly button to the floor, make sure your back stays on the floor, and you want to hold it as long as you can. Now, you don't want to suck in and hold your breath. You want to be able to breathe through it, so you can kind of see my stomach moving a little bit. That's me breathing through it. I can do this one anywhere, laying in bed, in the car, in the shower, cooking, wherever you want to do it. Sometimes I just do it right at the gym to make sure that I do get it in that day. So this was a great exercise for your core and your transverse abdominis. You can see how I'm lifting up my back. We do not want that on this exercise. Same goes for this one. Keep your back on the floor, lift your feet up in front of you with straight legs, and then you want to go as low as you can without your feet touching the floor and without your back coming up off the floor. If you cannot do this without your back coming up off the floor, I'm going to show you guys a modification where you can put your hands underneath your butt and then do the same exercise. That'll help, but the goal here is to actually be able to do it with your back straight on the floor without having to put your hands underneath your butt, so you definitely want to keep trying to do that. This will also help strengthen your hip flexors, not just your abs. It's all connected, so that really helps. This is another TVA one, or lower abs. This I call the lower abs pull-in because you can really feel it down in your lower abs. You want to try to do 2 legs at a time. Once again, keep your back flat on the ground. If you can't do that, then there's going to be another modification you'll see here where you do 1 leg at a time, but make sure you keep your back on the ground. Again, you might feel this one in your hip flexors. That's totally normal. It's helping to strengthen that as well. I call these in and outs. These ones are really challenging. You want to just basically do what I'm doing in the video and keep your back straight. You don't want to arch it either direction while you're doing these ones. For a modification, you can just hold that position and put your hands up and down like that for about 30 seconds.